website to start with. So, what are the main risks? The scammers. There are things that we call phishing attempts, viruses, man-in-the-middle attack, where somebody gets between you and what you believe to be a valid service of some sort. Then there are just straight-out hackers who come in and steal all your data. There are little cookies that track where you've been on the internet. And there are other nasty stuff. So has anybody got any idea which is the biggest risk? Scammers? Any other religions? Phone scammers, correct? Well, I reckon that the biggest risk is you. It takes two to tango. You've got to be involved in this transaction for you to lose out. The scammers will use everything that they know about human nature, about what they know about you, to get to your wallet. It's as simple as that. There's all sorts of technology we can use to avoid this, but if somebody gives you a story that says that it's just too good to be true, what it is, it's too good to be true. If they tell you that they're in Syria and that they need $40 top up on their phone card, it's too good to be true. It's just... Anyway, so let's look at some of the things that happen. Email is the largest transporter of scamming attacks. So you get an email and it says that you've got a package that's being delivered by DHL, but you've got to pay $12.95 to get it through customs. It's going to be in an email, it's going to be in a text, it's going to have a hyperlink on it. It's going to say, click this link. And once again, you step into the equation by going, well, that must be that bottle of wine I'm waiting for from Israel, right? So, I don't know whether anybody knows about the Swiss cheese method of defense. So, within technology, defense is actually like Swiss cheese. You have the operating system on your device, you then have applications, you have antiviruses, you have all sorts of layers, and each of those layers has holes in it. And so your viruses, your scammers, they know where the holes are. But the more layers of cheese that you actually have between you and the scammer, the safer you are. So the first thing to do is never read your email through a web browser. Get an email client. Get things like, I've listed a few up there. There's a thing called EM Client, Thunderbird, Mailbird, Windows Mail, Microsoft Outlook, Kiwi Mail. That application guards you against a whole pile of this rubbish that comes through the email pipe. It allows you to control what happens to that email. Whereas if you're just on a web browser, you get to see it all. Okay? So, the email client will allow you to identify spam, junk mail, and will allow you to block it. So put that in place first. That'll help you. When you're browsing on the internet, excuse me, you need to know where you are and where you're going Here's a screenshot of my browser. I use Chrome. Right in the top corner up there, big line going to it, there's a little symbol. It's a padlock. It's usually a padlock. If you click on that padlock, it will tell you whether the site that you're heading towards is secure. It will tell you whether it's trusted and who it's trusted by. It will tell you all sorts of information. The detail there is impossible to read, but it'll tell you that it's safe. If it's not safe, you won't get a padlock up there, you'll get a little exclamation mark. If you click on that, it'll tell you that this is a bad place to be. Now, with the way I've got my browser set up, it wouldn't even let me go there. Even though I'd methodically typed in a great big long address, my browser wouldn't let me do it because I'd set the security up within the browser to stop me from making silly mistakes. Because sometimes I'm not awake, and sometimes I think, oh, that's too good to be true. So, let's have a look at Sam the Scammer. This is I can't stand up very long. This is a site that's put together by VNZ, sorry. And that's a little technology, isn't it? That's really good. I've got it here on the screen, but technology is beautiful, and it wouldn't let you go there. Sam the Scammer is a website that you can get to on your personal computer on that link, and it asks you a number of questions. It tells you things like the different offers that you get, and you can run it as a test on yourself. So you can interact with it and test out whether or not you're gullible enough to fall for a typical scamming trick. So we'll get the link or the PowerPoint presentation distributed, and when you get home, you can fire up the link and see if it's too good to be true. Unfortunately, we won't do it this morning. So, passwords. Lots of really good tricks to use with passwords. You're always advised to use a different password on every different site that you visit, right? But how do you remember? It's insane. Huh? You can, with the browsers, you typically have the ability to invoke a password manager that remembers them for you. And whilst that, it sounds like a good idea, have the computer remember my passwords for me. If you lose the keys to the password manager to the hacker, you've now got access to everything that you hold near and dear to you. But there is a way you can do it. They tell you to make it long and strong. What does that mean? It usually means minimum of 8 characters, uppercase and lowercase, and sometimes even one special character. So at least 8, 1 capital, alpha and numeric, and a special. So you don't want to use your personal information though to create a password, because Andrew 1234 is not very secure. Even with a full stop on the end of it, it's not very secure. It's pretty obvious that it's Andrew's password. The safest place to keep them? Yep. And at the bottom there, I talk about the 4 and 4 key. So I use a technique, and you shouldn't use this technique specifically. You should take this technique and adapt it for yourself. But I take the first 4 letters of the site that I'm visiting and a 4-digit numeric number that I remember, and I put the 2 together and I put a full stop on the end, and that's my password. So if I'm going to Microsoft, I can go to MICR, my 4-digit number, full stop, and I can remember that because every one of them is different, but they actually tell me what the password is when I look at the screen. You can take those first 4 digits and reverse them if you want to be really clever. So it's RCIM, your 4-digit number and a full stop. It may not be a full stop, it might be an exclamation mark. But if you devise a little coding system in your head for remembering these things, then you can remember them all. Yeah? It makes sense? When it's time to reset them, put the numbers first, put the alphabetics first, do whichever you want, turn it around and make them all backwards. And most websites do have a little button that says, I forgot my password. Reset. This is where it gets complicated. Virtual private networks, or VPNs. And if you set up a VPN, obviously I have a VPN, it costs me about $80 a year to run it, and I can be anywhere in the world, and I can access any site in the world through my VPN. So it doesn't restrict what I do, but it does mean I can tell my VPN that actually today I'm in Algeria. So if somebody's trying to hack me, they're going to be looking for me in Algeria. I can be in Australia. The other thing that's really helpful for is if you are overseas and you want to go on to TVNZ to get the news, you can tell it you're in New Zealand. Because TVNZ won't let you access TVNZ from overseas. So if anyone wants to know any more about VPNs, just give me a holler at some point, and I'll talk until your eyes roll into the back of your head. Because I'm a techie and that's what we do. Back up your data. Backup devices are dirt cheap. This here is all USB key. I can get most of my data on that key. You can go down to Noel Leemings, you can buy these things. They're really cheap. But remember that if you lose it, all your information is on your backup. So keep it in a safe place. The fridge is good. Nobody usually looks for your data in the fridge. applications, your operating systems, your antivirus software, all of that stuff, automatically update, keep it up to date. It's your best protection that you can technically use. No? Talked about unique passwords, but we need to talk about two-factor authentication. So a number of sites, including your bank, will they will ask you to deploy two-factor authentication. This is a series of questions that supposedly only you know the answer to, and they will ask you, they'll display the question, and they'll ask you to fill in certain characters, alphanumeric, of the answer you gave them. So when you think about that, that sounds like a pretty safe way of doing things. It's a good way to secure your information. But think about what your answers are. Typical questions are things like, what high school did I go to? Well, everybody knows you went to Tokoroa High. It's on your Facebook page. So don't use that question. Have some fun with the answers. What high school did you go to? Hogwarts. Good answer. Mother-in-law's favourite, mother-in-law's maiden name? I'll let you make up your own mind. But don't put answers that are easily found by people who sit on the internet all day long looking for your personal information. It's, avoid sensitive transactions on the Wi-Fi. So, a couple of years ago, we were doing a project where we were trying to implement telehealth. We found that patients were taking their laptops down to the library using the free Wi-Fi to transmit medical information about themselves. Don't do that. Make sure that wherever you're on the Wi-Fi, that it is actually secure. You know, the joke about stealing the neighbor's Wi-Fi sounds like a really great idea to save money, but it's very, very unsafe. So free Wi-Fi, where it's offered, is not for checking your bank balance. Or, you know, it's just, I suppose it's just common sense about being aware of the environment in which you're attempting to transact. Antivirus. Be really, really careful with antivirus. It can be really expensive, or it can be free. Which would you prefer? Free? Sounds too good to be true to me. So free antivirus isn't that free. Find yourself a reputable antivirus supplier and budget on spending some money with them every year, keeping it updated.
Any thoughts on what would be reputable antivirus?
Norton's antivirus, McAfee antivirus, they're the big names in those fields. There is a product called Sophos, S-O-P-H-O-S. It's really heavy duty, it's a lot more expensive though. Be smart about social media. I've turned it off. I haven't put anything on my Facebook page now for over a year. I consider it to be not only a waste of time, but why do you need to know things of absurdity. I was told a story just the other day. This happened in Hamilton. Lady got a phone call. The person on that phone call said, good morning, knew their name, said, this is Bank of New Zealand. Your EFTPOS card has just been used in Christchurch. She said, well, that wasn't me. So, well, let me put you through to our fraud squad. She hears the click, 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 an automated voice said, welcome to the Bank of New Zealand, anti-scamming fraud division. Please enter your PIN number. She did. Later in the afternoon, she got a phone call. Lady on the phone said, hi, this is BNZ. Your card's just been used. She said, yeah, no, I talked to you this morning about it. No, you didn't. And in that circumstance, Bank of New Zealand would not give her the money back because she had given them her PIN number. If you give your PIN number to somebody, you are actually breaching the terms and conditions of the use of that account. So nobody should ask you for your PIN number. Nobody should ask you for your passport number. Nobody should ask you for your driver's license number either, actually. And they certainly shouldn't ask you for your NHI number. If somebody wants that information, you can say to them, if it's a dire emergency and you've got to hand over that information for some reason, ask them to give you a phone number and you'll call them back. Then you can validate, go on Google and validate the phone numbers, make sure that that is the ministry of whatever, that is their phone number. Then you can phone it and hopefully somebody will answer saying who they are. If it's a cell phone number, it's not going to happen. Just never give it out. If they really need those numbers, you can make an appointment and come in and see them at their offices. And of course, check your bank statements. It's a really good way of ascertaining whether you're going to or are being scammed. You will often see, if you use your credit card online, you'll often see a transaction for nothing saying pending. That's somebody checking to see whether that is an account number, a valid account number. That's all that transaction means. If it's from somebody that you know that you're buying something from, great. But if there's a little transaction there for either zero amount or 1 cent, and it's somebody you've never heard of before, pick up the phone your bank, cut your card in half, it's over, cancel the account, get yourself a new credit card.
Save money.
Any questions?
Phishing. What does phishing mean?
Phishing. Phishing is a techie way of spelling the word fishing, and it's just where I put out something on the internet and see who bites. So there's a lovely poster actually in the security domain. There's a whole industry of people who specialize in security. You're unlucky, I'm not one of them. But there are all different types of fishes. The man in the middle is an example of fishing, where I managed to get myself in between the conversation you're having with somebody else, and I fish information out of what you're saying. But there are multiple types of fish. somebody tries to befriend you, make you an offer, appeal to your sense of whatever. And if you think about it very carefully, a lot of this activity is driven by what we actually see on our televisions through advertising. So you get some of the best advertising people in the world to develop ways of making you buy something. Well, rather than reinvent the wheel, they'll use the same trick. So be very careful of things like Save the Children, Oxfam, because they're some of the most, heart-wrenching and appealing forms of advertising that sort of make us go, oh yeah, that's a really bad situation. I could chip in $5. Just make sure that you are actually sending it to Oxfam. Any other questions?
Yeah, so you get on my Facebook, sorry, that as well. Occasionally I get these offers, to put it this way, lovely young ladies dressed whatever, either to your imagination.
It's working.
It's working, yeah. I've been left trying to think how it was that I could have ever had that sort of service offered to me. So what did I do in order to invite them?
Well, first thing you do is sign up for Facebook. People go on Facebook and say, right, let's start at the beginning of the alphabet. Let's look for everybody named Andrew. Oh, here they are. Oh, this one's left his email address. I'll take that. Yeah. It's about how much information you have shared. The other places that comes from, you would have heard about some of these big data breaches that have occurred, not only here but overseas. Those lists of people's names and email addresses get sold on what they call the dark web, and you may have inadvertently had some of your data released. Under New Zealand law, the company that owned that data is supposed to inform you. I can assure you that that doesn't happen in all cases. So those sorts of things can happen. When you get those things, though, when you see something out there where somebody's emailed you and sort of said, hi, my name's Cindy, and I'd like to be your friend or whatever, report it. If you build a reputation for reporting people on these platforms, they will leave you alone. Because they'll know that you're that person that keeps reporting you. Because it is probably just the one person. Different pictures.
Emails, it says you won such and such.
Yeah.
I just delete it automatically, and same with parcels. I know what I've ordered, and in fact, no, I just automatically order it. Is that the right thing to do?
Yes, and also in your email client, block them. So use the option to say never accept this. Just put it straight in my spam folder and delete my spam folder every day. Yeah.
If you're Googling a site that you want to do something with, whether it be inland revenue or PowerShop or whatever it is, can spammers set up something that looks like the website
Yes.
that you're going to, and is that very common?
There's two answers to that. One is, yes, it's very common, but luckily for us in New Zealand, there are organisations like NetSafe who are constantly monitoring that stuff and getting it taken down. So if those sites do come up, here they're very quick to go down. Not so much if you're buying something from the States. So, you know, personally, I try to always buy something from a internet store that's based in New Zealand. Buying from overseas, well, I don't have the patience actually to wait for the freight to come through. But yeah, it's a lot riskier. So sometimes you have to buy wine from Jerusalem, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I understand. What about you? Sometimes you try to go onto a Christian website and your computer tells you this is an unsafe, this is not secure, back off, back off. What's that all about?
So, when you set up your own web pages and so on, you put certificates on them. The certificate is something that you pay a fee to companies like Verizon or whomever, and they authenticate that your site is valid, and they put a certificate on there. If you're a church group or a charity organisation that doesn't have much money, sometimes you don't renew your certificate. That's what that's about. So they haven't renewed their certificate, and therefore your browser believes that they're a pack of crooks. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Anybody have anything that they think of later? I think my email address is in the address book. Don't hesitate to ask.
Yes,